Did Jesus claim to be sent to the world? Okay, so this video is basically talking about whether or not Jesus claimed to be sent to the world. And this is very important because it ties back to the same sacrifice for the world's sin thing. Because if Jesus never claimed to be sent to the world, that means you cannot argue that his sacrifice was really for the sins of the world. So, let's look at the evidence. Did the historical Jesus claim he was sent for the world? Well, let's start off with the Gospel of Matthew. Now, in the Gospel of Matthew, it says that Jesus was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. Now, this is a very important verse because he uses the word only, meaning none else. This is how it stays, right? So, this alone, right, it proves the historical Jesus said this. Well, not so fast. Matthew is known to have a bias towards Jewish audience, and he obviously favors the Jewish audience, him being a Jew himself. So, this is something that the author of Matthew was really, kind of passionate about. So whether or not the historical Jesus really said this exact wording, that's up to you to decide. But personally, I wouldn't take it as proof, as in Matthew it does, repeatedly have a high Jewish context. But besides Matthew, the main way we could take a look at whether or not the disciples believed Jesus was sent to the world or sent to Israel is by looking at the actions and teachings of the disciples themselves. So, as always, we're of course going to head to Acts of the Apostles and Paul the Apostle. Now, when we head over to Paul, we see something very interesting. The Jerusalem church is this formalized church. And it basically, it's already functioning on its own. But something very strange is it's in Jerusalem. That's what it's called. And it's not really that strange, but that's where it is. It's not really spread way too much out of Israel. It's mostly inside Israel, and it seems to be, as far as the disciples are concerned, an Israelites church, basically. Now, besides what Paul says here, we move on throughout the storyline, and basically Paul, he sits with Peter, right? And Peter sits with the Gentiles until Peter suddenly separates himself from the Gentiles when the other Jews come. This is a big clue because it kind of shows that Peter doesn't support the Gentiles as actually being true Christians, or at least not in the same level he is. He's basically saying, I'm greater than you here. And this is, if Jesus really preached equality between Gentiles and Christians, that would have been very problematic what Peter did right there. Yet it seems like all the people in Jerusalem seem to agree with Peter. Nobody from there condemned him. It only seemed to be Paul who got very mad about this. Now, moving on from this moment, we then have, other moments in Acts of the Apostles where it's kind of just mainly Jerusalem church for them. That's their main theme. Jerusalem church, Jerusalem church, Jerusalem church. So I think the conclusion here is kind of simple. It seems that the historical Jesus really did claim he was only sent to Israel, or at least mainly for Israel, and definitely not to the whole world as most of us think today.